When the president can kill whoever he wants, then he's not a president anymore, he's a king.
To start assassinating American citizens without charges, we should think very seriously about this.
There aren't even any charges filed against him other than what the president's people have publicly said about him.
Can we just say that because of what we think he said to somebody in a foreign country, he's lost his right to life and American agents can just kill him?
All you can do is step back in time. Roll out confusion when nothing is new and there's nothing doing. Step back in time.
This is major in many ways about following the rule of law.
I can remember here at Fox arguing in the hypothetical whether or not the president could order an American killed, and everybody was recoiled at even the thought of it. Now, it doesn't even make the front pages. What about the Constitution? What about life, liberty, and property? What about the very obligations imposed on the government in the document that created the government itself?
Well, that's the whole point of the document in the Bill of Rights. Our ancestors tried to protect us against this omnipotent type of power. That was the whole idea. They said, look, the greatest threat to our freedom, the freedom of the American people, is this federal government that we're calling into existence. And to protect the people from this government, we're going to have the Bill of Rights.
Just announced and authorized that he has told the CIA that it can assassinate American citizens in direct violation of the Constitution's Due Process Clause, in violation of federal law, and in violation of treaties to which the U.S. is a party. The Due Process Clause to the Constitution states that no person, whether they're overseas or in the U.S., may be deprived of life, liberty, or property by the government without due process of law, which means a jury trial.
He was never tried or charged for any crimes. Nobody knows if he ever killed anybody.
There's no trial here. There is no judicial determination. It's some bureaucrat or team of bureaucrats that said, we have determined that that guy is guilty of terrorism, therefore we have a right to kill him.
So the president says, look, these people are on the list. Is that what he does?
What the CIA does, and it doesn't happen very often, what the CIA does is they go into literally to the president, and they have a list of all of the things that this person has been charged with, and they have all of the, not charged with, not indicted with.
And he signs a death warrant.
He signs a death warrant.
Yes, our president has a hit list of American citizens like you targeted for assassination. And there are indications that the list of Americans targeted for assassination is growing.
Well, we all know that their definition of terrorism in every government, every dictatorial regime, inevitably starts going to the area of people who criticize what the government's doing, arguing against it, arguing against the immorality. Ultimately, they start seeing those people as the enemy, people that need to be taken out. I mean, this power is the power that the Chinese communists wield, that the Soviet communists wielded, that they wield in Burma, North Korea. That's now a core feature of the U.S. government. That's not what this country's supposed to be all about, Judge, as you well know.
I think a court will decide the president doesn't have the authority to kill somebody because of their words that they utter in another country.
Look at the controversies that were created during the Bush administration when the president got caught spying on American citizens without warrants or trying to detain them without due process. Here you're talking about something far more extreme. You're talking about targeting American citizens for murder, for assassination, based merely on the allegation that they're involved in terrorism. No evidence, no charges, no trial, nothing. And it's extraordinarily dangerous, especially when you consider the fact that when allegations of terrorism by the government are subjected to judicial review, in overwhelmingly high percentages of the cases, 72%, courts find that the allegations are without merit. So who would ever justify allowing the president to target American citizens for assassination without any judicial oversight or charges or due process of any kind?
The CIA has the authority to execute without charge, without trial, without jury, without judge, without appeal, American citizens that it considers dangerous simply because they're not located in the United States. Where do they claim to get this power from?
The president's battlefield powers extend everywhere, even to places where there is actually no combat whatsoever.
It's not just overseas, because notice that they've always claimed that the U.S. is part of this battlefield. That means implicitly that they're saying the CIA can now assassinate any American, not only overseas, but here, as long as they label him a suspected terrorist.
Well, that's probably what will come next.
Or potentially calling you or me a terrorist and trying to have us killed.
But I also like the rule of law, and I like our Constitution. I like the Fifth Amendment, that you don't just target people and assassinating somebody who has not been charged and you have no proof of anything. So if we want to protect American citizens from that type of justice, we have to be more cautious. This has never been done before. This announced policy was about a year and a half ago by our administration that said that American citizens can now be targeted for assassination. This is very, very dangerous. You know, who knows what the future will bring? Maybe just dissenters would be potential terrorists already. It doesn't take a whole lot to be a potential terrorist. Somebody who tried to institute sound money was charged with being a terrorist. That was one of the charges made. So I would say that we should be more cautious. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't deal with this problem and go after these people and deal with it, but just to do this casually or celebrate it, I consider that very dangerous.
During the 8 years of the Bush administration, the battle was over torture. Whether they had the power to torture people that they labeled as terrorists with no trial. Now Obama's taking it one step further and saying, well, we don't need to deal with torturing people anymore. We just kill them. And as you point out, it extends to Americans now.
If you look at what Democrats, including Barack Obama, objected to, it was merely things like eavesdropping on Americans and detaining them without due process and without charges. And now Democrats have completely abandoned those objections now that there's a Democrat in the White House, and apparently not just detaining and eavesdropping Americans, but targeting them for murder is acceptable to the Democratic Party now that there's a Democrat in the White House. And again, if you justify that, targeting American citizens for assassination without any due process, what don't you approve?
Neither you nor I hesitated to criticize the Bush administration when it was engaging in torture, when it was engaging in spying without warrants, when it pushed through the Patriot Act, which authorizes federal agents to write their own search warrants. There was a huge outcry over all of those things: torture, NSA spying, self-written search warrants. Why isn't there a hue and cry in the media today over the Obama administration claiming it can summarily execute Americans that it thinks have helped terrorists in foreign countries? Not that it has proven to a jury, but that it thinks it has helped Americans, has attacked Americans in foreign countries.
Well, all too often the media has become the mouthpiece for the administration, regardless of which administration is in power. I mean, and conservatives bear some of the responsibility here because they vested these powers in George W. Bush, and we libertarians kept saying, you cannot do this. You have to assume that your worst enemy is in power before you vest these powers in there. And sure enough, now Obama, who the conservatives are calling this dangerous socialist, now has all these powers that they vested in Bush.
By undermining the linchpin for protecting basic human liberty, President Obama is proclaiming that the executive branch of the government of the United States of America has the explicit right and authority to murder American citizens. The extra-constitutional CIA, which has been constantly expanding its powers since World War II, has been more than happy to carry out the executive's illegal orders. The Constitution to the United States was written to restrict the power of the federal government